Welcome to Experimarketing, the podcast where we innovate, create, and appreciate. Powered by Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson. Here's the host of Experimarketing, Chief Experimarketer, Colin Carasquillo.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, advertisers of all ages. It is Colin Carasquillo here, host of the Experimarketing podcast, the podcast where we innovate, create, and appreciate new ways for marketers to generate opportunities for business. I'm going to bring my co-host on right away, Matt Wilson.
Oh, okay.
There he is.
What's going on, Colin?
I know I usually make you wait a little bit, let the suspense build. Everyone says, where's Matt? Where's Matt? Where's Matt? Well, today, boom, he's right here, right now. How you feeling? How you doing? Good to see you.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready. I'm ready to record. What do you got? What are we talking about?
So
what are you Experimarketing about today?
Exactly. That is a great question. So for those watching, all right, I have my pink shirt on today. Yes, men can wear pink. But Matt, I guess you either didn't get the memo or what's going on here. It looks more like a raspberry, but I got pink.
Well, I got your memo, but I don't really have anything pink. I found one pink shirt, but it fit me like 20 pounds ago. 20 pounds heavier ago. But I did find this on the floor here.
Got something on the floor?
Yeah, I got this pink toy. It's the end to a pink toy hair dryer. I also have found this pink like blanket thing.
Okay, all right.
My office is also a playroom. And
I see.
Hold on. Oh, look at this. Queen Poppy.
Queen Poppy.
Of the Pop Trolls. Yeah, I'll keep her.
All right, so I guess that counts as pink, and I appreciate you
That's on my desk.
looking around the playroom, aka your office. So
aka studio.
AKA studio. And that's okay, because we like to have a lot of fun here. So essentially, Experimarketing can be your playroom for all of the advertisers and marketers out there. Today, though, on Experimarketing episode 18, entitled Customers for Life, we are talking about just that, how your dealership can make a customer for life. Now, Matt, we know that in this day and age, right, that advertising is one part of what your dealership should be doing to generate opportunities for business. The other side of it is once those individuals come into the dealership and ultimately become your customers, whether it's in sales and service, you need to make them customers for life, right?
Yeah, it's like the Lion King.
It's the circle of life.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, you got to get them in.
All those out there. I didn't know I was going to be singing this morning.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. So anyway, without further ado, actually, before we bring on our esteemed guest, let me rewind that. I do have to thank a couple sponsors. So of course, Dealer Marketing Magazine, and we're doing this new feature. This is really cool. So now on our Restream, which is the platform that Matt and I use for the podcast and to disseminate it out to all the masses, we have screen sharing. So for those listening, unfortunately, you can't see what's happening right now, but check it out on YouTube. Then you can see what's happening. And we have this awesome screen share, dealermarketing.com, Dealer Marketing Magazine. We're lucky enough to partner with them. They have since sponsored the podcast. So thank you for that, Dealer Marketing. Everyone go check them out. It is a great resource for all of your automotive needs or information. There's 30 expert panelists that have been hand selected by the Dealer Marketing team in all facets of automotive. A lot of great information. You can also listen to Matt and his podcast, Mostly Automotive Marketing, which is on the channel under the podcast tab. Matt, give him a live demo right there. Just hit that podcast tab for me.
Oh, podcast tab.
That's
there we
it.
go. Okay.
And there you go, Matt Wilson. And then, of course, the Experimarketing podcast. And we have some awesome people from the industry that also have their own podcast, the Inside Auto podcast from a company, Auto Lead Star, which, hey, great segue. Speaking of our second sponsor here, Auto Lead Star. Now, Auto Lead Star is a marketing platform that I personally utilize at the automotive group that I represent. They do really cool stuff with machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the fun part about it is all the data that they provide, and I'm a big data guy. But basically, it's one-to-one advertising to your customers. It's going to give you a really great cost per lead, ultimately cost per sale, but everything's trackable. So what I need you to do is use the code POD50, P-O-D 50, P-O-D 50, for 50% off your first 3 months on the Auto Lead Star platform. Okay, now we're back. Matt, we're talking about customers for life, like I said. So who better to talk about making a customer for life for or about than Christine Mitchell, the famous car lady, all the way up in Canada. Hello. Yes. Doo-doo. How are you,
Hey,
Christine?
guys.
Hi, Christine.
Going?
Good. It's going fantastic. How are things with you?
We're hanging in there. Matt said he's good. Matt, what's the weather like up in Connecticut today? Because I know we had some hot weather. Now we had some cold weather. And what's going on?
We got rain right now, but we're supposed to get 4 inches of snow tomorrow morning. So,
oh, boy. And Christine, how about up in Canada? What's going on?
It's about 5 degrees. That's the real weather.
Whoa.
Celsius or
Oh,
Fahrenheit?
that's not American weather. That's Canadian weather.
That's Canadian weather for sure.
I think it's somewhere in the 30s or 40s here.
So it's equally as cold, but that's okay, Christine, because we got you and your little bit of sunshine, which warms it up for us. So
thanks for wearing the pink today. Pink's not just a color; it's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle. I love that. And Matt, thanks for having your pink toy. Okay. Anyway, Christine is the owner and principal of The Car Lady. One of the things, before we get into obviously you and your great story, I just want to say you've done a great job branding yourself, because you can Google your name and literally a knowledge graph of The Car Lady is what pops up on Google. And I have yet to see, aside from, celebrities or, Forbes magazine people like Elon Musk who have knowledge graphs about them. So you have one. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool. That's a lot of hard work, definitely, of building the brand. So without further ado, please, Christine, tell us about yourself and about The Car Lady.
Thanks so much. Yeah. Christine Mitchell, The Car Lady. I started out my career at 16 in the lube lane of a dealership in my hometown. I apprenticed out of that store, went to college, wrote my Class A, became a technician, turned a wrench for about 12 years. And then I decided to start my own company. So back in the day, way, way back, before you fellas were around, probably.
Definitely Colin.
That's been around.
No, I'm not that old. But back in the day, GM brought out a program they used to call Smart Car Care. And so piggybacking off that, because I was a GM technician, I started my own company, The Car Lady, and I actually went to the GM stores and taught the program for them. And then later on from that, when that program ended for General Motors, I continued the process. So basically, I started the company. I had a Class A technician license. I had a suit that I bought from a store, Hudson's Bay, which is big here in Canada. And I had $300. So I went to Yahoo and I made the worst looking flyers you've ever seen in your life. And I went door to door to door with my message that service is essential, that after sales seminars are the vital step that's missing from many stores. And I sold them. And now this is my 24th year of being The Car Lady. And it's been my honor to meet all the customers.
That's a really, really incredible story. And just talk about all of the hard work and perseverance. And obviously, now the success, which is awesome. So thank you for that. Thank you for the introduction. Now, a lot of what you do, there's actually two kind of facets to it, right? And correct me if I'm wrong with The Car Lady, but obviously, like you said, it's that after sales, what's going on in the service department, building customers for life. And then what I also thought was super interesting is you have a car purchasing service as well, correct? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
We also have a car purchasing service because everybody needs a friend in the car business.
Right.
And so I started the service because I had so many of my female friends and family coming to me and they wanted to purchase vehicles and they just didn't know how to get started. Or they went into the dealership and they weren't treated appropriately during the purchase process. I'll give you an example of that. My own daughter, The Car Lady's daughter, went into a dealership to buy a car. And we went I went with her. And the salesperson was there and we found the model and the trim she wanted. And I said, I said, how much is the car? And he said, it's $27,495. And my daughter piped up and she said, well, okay, I'll take the blue one. And I was like, do you understand what MSRP means? Like she didn't know. She didn't have a clue what that meant. And then when we went to the F&I office, she was paying cash for the deal. And the F&I manager asked her, where's a little girl like you get all that money? So I thought, I've had so many women come to me over the years to say, listen, can you help me out with my purchase? Do you know anybody? I need an Audi. I need a GM. I need a Kia. I need a Lexus. Can you help me? So I thought, okay. I might as well monetize it. And I'll show you the discount for my service on the invoice. So I can save you the money that it costs, but I'll turnkey the whole thing for you, right down to getting the incentives, maybe a 90-day unit, maybe moving you in up a year, down a year, negotiating your interest rate, whatever I can do just to help.
I mean, listen, talk about a great customer experience in terms of the services that you're providing, right? Now, that's definitely something that I think a lot of dealers can learn from and say, okay, what are the steps that are going into what Christine's doing and what her team is doing? And then that experience, right? It right. Really feels like you said, you have a friend in the industry. Now, I think this is a really good segue in terms of what you had mentioned with your experience with your daughter. And essentially, that wasn't a great customer experience, obviously, from what we could see, your facial expressions, what we can hear in your voice. But ultimately, let's talk about the importance of the customer experience. And that does tie into what you guys do at the Car Lady. But customer experience, we've talked about, on previous episodes of Experimarketing, that it's the next competitive battleground, or it's the next competitive frontier for dealers. So, why is that customer experience, aside from that being the next competitive battleground, or so we say, why else do you think that that's super important to focus on customer experience?
Well, everyone talks about customer experience, but it's the execution that really, really counts, right? So what is your plan? Every dealership needs to have a plan on how they're going to promote or execute on customer service. So you want to look at a few different things. But the experience from the customer perspective, there was a survey done in 2015 through AutoTrader, and 54% of respondents said they would have bought from a dealership based on experience rather than price. And that speaks for itself. People want to do business with friends. Like speaks to like, and you want to go to a place where you're going to have the great experience. I don't remember who said it, but I've heard this many times. People won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And the same thing is anything that you buy. You think about all the things that you've purchased throughout your lifetime. Did you buy it majority because of price or quality or an experience? And the experience comes in that you were sold on the price and sold on the quality. And so that's why customer experience, building customers for life with experience only, is so important, right? Because we can talk about price all day long. There's 100 seminars on how to close a deal. But there's not a lot of 100 seminars about how you're going to make that person feel. And that's what I think that we focused on at the Car Lady. Our goals are to make your second chance at a first impression. Our goals are to invite your customers back after their purchase, because they spend 6 hours in the showroom and 4 years in your service department. So we better give them that experience that's going to let them know that we have the services they need.
I think that's very important. I mean, ultimately, you do see how dealers focus on the sale, which is right. I mean, that's the bread and butter. So they think, I mean, yes, you need to sell cars, but really the service department, I mean, when you look at it just from an operations perspective, absorption rates and all those different things in the service department, that's really what keeps your customers coming back. It's how they're treated in the service department, or how that handoff took place between sales and service. And I just don't think there's enough focus on the customer satisfaction and the customer experience on the service side of things. Now, you had mentioned in 2015, or that 2015 report by AutoTrader, that 54% of people spoke and said that they would do business based upon experience over a price, right? I think, and I don't have the numbers now, but I know due to COVID and things like that have transpired in the past, year, that that number has most likely increased, probably to, I would say, 70%. I'm going to go find that data. But you would think that, I mean, now it's more important than ever before, because of the circumstances going on with the economy, how people are operating and doing business, so on and so forth. I mean, would you agree that it's become more important?
Yeah, definitely more important. COVID brought a murky problem into a fine point, right? So even though they always said that we didn't have a great sales to service handoff because there was too much technology in the car to set up, there was too much paperwork to handle, the customer was in a hurry. And then COVID sort of even more layered that playing field with the fact that it was keys to curb delivery. And a lot of your stores were doing remote delivery. So even though you may have sold the vehicle online, the remote delivery gives you zero opportunity to talk about your greatest revenue center in your dealership, which is the service department. Service kept the lights on. That's a fact. Right. And so we can't expect people just to come back for service anymore. It's not enough to just rely on their warranty claims. We've got to ask them for their business. And what's your strategy to do that? So if you don't ask for the business, you ask for the sale. But if you don't ask for the service, frankly, the options are limited, are limitless. Those people can go anywhere. So I think it's really important, more now than ever, especially with keys to curb delivery.
Right. So I think that's something that has absolutely changed, right, in the business, is now that people are doing at-home delivery. But you even talk about, which, hey, this is a really forward-thinking and proactive dealers, but ones that are even offering at-home servicing. Right. So now the vehicle or a vehicle from the dealership will show up at your house and take care of, small or some smaller scale services, but they're actually doing that at your doorstep or at the office, wherever your car might be at that point in time. And that, I think, for example, is how a dealer can adapt to what has happened and what's currently going on with COVID. And like you said, provide that value, not just asking for the sale, asking for the service, but now facilitating it in a way that makes it extremely convenient and easy for the customer, so they do continue coming back to you for servicing needs. Matt, let me ask you real quick. I mean, obviously, at Silverback, you work with a lot of automotive clients. Are there clients that you know of that you work with that are actually doing some sort of at-home servicing, or have made that value proposition of why they should service, or why a person should service with their dealership? Are they advertising that?
At home? Like coming to you and doing it at your house? Yeah, like
coming to you. I mean, is there anyone that you're working with, or what do you think?
I love it. I don't have any clients or buddies that own stores that are doing that right now. They've all adapted the delivery, pickup, all that. But I don't have anybody that says, "Oh, we'll come to your house and do your lube oil filter."
Remote service is a long way out just because of the environmental concerns. Right. Like when I was a kid, when you guys were young, remember you doing your own service on your car? Maybe your dad did service on the car, grandpa did service on the car. I grew up on a farm, and when we did our own service on a car, we'd roll with a kickboard underneath the vehicle, right? And then my mom would bring out an old dish pan. My father would take the old oil from our car and use it on the driveway of our farm to keep the dust down. Well, with environmental reasons today, like even to do your own maintenance at home, I'm a technician. I don't do my own maintenance at home. By the time I recycle the oil in the filter, it's not worth my time. It's cheaper to take it to the dealership. Taking your car to the dealership for an oil change is like buying a bag of milk from your corner store. It's a lost leader. It's nothing but an opportunity to offer more service. So I don't think but a lot of stores, let's be honest, Carvana and all those places are nipping at your heels. Like, you made it so convenient to buy a car online that nobody wants to come to the store.
Right.
So now what are we going to do?
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Matt has a story about his liquor delivery. But basically, I mean, that's what it's come down to. Is you do see how things have changed, but they've been changing, right? And so it just has taken this pandemic for us to finally realize, like, the change is here now versus, oh, it's coming, when it's been expedited in terms of the adoption of what we need to do in that change. So essentially, I mean, you look at companies like Amazon, where people now can order things online, they're delivered to their house next day. You have individuals like Matt, and listen, I'm guilty of it too. We want a nice beverage. We call up our liquor store, and next thing you know, the thing is delivered in a couple of hours, which is really, really incredible.
Awesome.
But it is awesome. But we need to make sure that as dealers, right? And I'm sure, Christine, this is what you focus on too, that you're still delivering those same types of experiences, even though they're influenced by outside the automotive space. It's something, one of our other guests had said, your last great experience is going to be your expectation for your next experience, right? And I mean, is that, you would agree, right?
I would agree. And, a lot of dealerships have implemented valet service for service, right? So we'll come and get your car, but the last bastion of getting these people back into your dealership is service.
Right.
I mean, you can buy a car online, have it delivered to your house, but you can't get it maintenanced and you can't get it serviced in your driveway. So you're going to have to commit at some point. This is the time to look at why you need to bring the vehicle in, and let me highlight your other features, right? It's not enough just to get oil changes anymore or warranty work. For example, a lot of dealers right now, after a year, need to look seriously hard at what their RO counts are and seriously at their CP. Now, I've had a lot of stores say to me, well, Christine, my CP is up. My CP has been great, but my RO count is down. And the reason for that is because of COVID-19. So prior to COVID-19, and maybe even today, your service advisor was always the busiest person in the dealership, right? 7 a.m, they got 20 people lined up at their podium. Oil change, rotate, winter tire, right? And there was no time to communicate. Oh, by the way, I see that you're due for. Again, we talk about all these lovely walkarounds. Occasionally it doesn't happen. Occasionally it does, but more often than not, it doesn't. That's why we continue to teach that process. And so if you're a dealer principal or you're a GM, I want you to take a good hard look at what your revenue stream is right now. Because if you sold cars, we need to service those cars. And we can certainly help with that.
Okay, so I love that. And so, I mean, let's kind of say the lay of the land, right? Or let's outline this plan of attack, if you will, right? So the first step then, if I understand what you're saying correctly, is look at the RO count, right? So your repair orders, and then look at your customer pay, all right? So your CP, your RO, look at those numbers. Now, if they're down from last year, which obviously we're going to assume, assume that they will be.
Percentage or ratio, right?
Right. Okay.
So if you sold 1,000 cars, let's just use round numbers. If you sold 1,000 cars in 2019 and you only sold 500 in 2020, as a ratio, you need to look at how many of those 2020 people came back for service. Because with nobody's either driving, they're working from home, low kilometers, they don't understand the value even of service. Right? And winter tires. Look at your winter tire program. Where are we with that? Where are we with accessories? Like if we do a know your car, we call it know your car night, or sometimes called service is essential. If we do one of those events, 87% of people that have attended our events revisit your dealership in the next 3 years. That's a fact. Right? So, and then earlier you talked about, you're a big data guy. And you love the cost, right? You've spent a lot of time researching what it costs to sell that car. So what's the average per unit? They say statistically, it's around $600 per unit spent to get that one customer to come in and buy the car. Correct. What are you prepared to spend to get their business back for the next 4 years, right? So for $10.95, we'll email all your customers, phone all the clients, and host the whole event virtually for you. It's a win-win. And each customer for life, since that's our focus, over the next 4 years period, could be worth in excess of $100,000. By the time you maintenance, you sell them accessories, winter tires, maybe they have a collision, knock on wood, right? And then they refer their friends and family and they do a trade, you could be in excess of over 100,000 K in the next 4 years on each one of those people. If you don't get them back, they're in the wind. They're at Pep Boys, they're at Costco, they're at Walmart.
So that's, I mean, I think one of the things too that we always talk about on the show is a goal. So setting a goal. So I think a lot of dealers, and I could be wrong because I look at the marketing side of things. I look at, for example, like you said, a cost per sale, right? So it's on that initial vehicle sold. But there definitely is a value in, like you're saying, it could be over $100,000 for each customer, right? Servicing their vehicle for the next 4 years if you keep them at your dealership. So in theory, I mean, even before, well, no, I guess we should say step one would be looking at the RO count, looking at the CP, okay, looking at your winter tire program, which you said, because we like to provide the actionable insight here, looking at your accessories. That gives you all of the data. That lays the foundation to say, okay, here is the state of the union. Here is what's happening in our industry. Now, once you understand what's happening in your industry, it's not time to panic. It's time to create the programs or give Christine a call. There you go. She's giving me a call me. But essentially, you want to set a goal then, Christine, right? Yeah. So just so we can reiterate that. So, all right, dealers out there listening in, marketers, this is very important too from a marketing perspective, because one, it's getting the data to understand what's happening. Obviously, I love data. Other marketers love data. That's how we make our educated decisions in terms of the marketing and what we're going to do, right? So then setting the goal. What your goal is in terms of what Christine was saying is essentially, one, how much money are you willing to spend? Now, this is above and beyond, obviously, the $600 average, let's say, that people are spending to get a customer to buy from their dealership. How much, dealer, are you willing to spend in order to have a customer service at your dealership for the next 4 years? So once you set that number, then, and Christine, I don't know, do you have an average on what that number might be? Is it non-existent? Because I don't think a lot of dealers are focusing on this.
So the price point, again, I'm $10.95.
Well, you're $10.95. Okay.
Right. So if I can get 30 people on the call, so typically we find the return ratio out of 100 people, we get 30 people back for an event. If I can just get 30 people, right, to service with you in the next 4 years, divide that by 1085, it's basically what, $60-70 a person?
Right.
To make $100,000 off each one of them? It's a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer to call you, absolutely. But also here, let's just say, hey, a dealer says, all right, Christine's 1095. It might be easier for them just to call you. I'm not refuting that. What I am saying though is if there's just a number that dealers might say, hey, I want to spend, $1,000 over the next 4 years, or is it literally as simple as I'm going to spend $50 on a customer? So all in, a customer has $600 to be sold and then $50 to be serviced, on a monthly basis for the 4-year period.
Correct. Yeah. It costs you more to get the customer to buy the car than it does to get me to get them to service with you.
Right. No, absolutely. And it makes plenty of sense. And obviously some
places want to do it themselves, right? I get that. But you really need somebody to drive it. We've all known a dealership, and you fellas probably know dealerships that you've worked with. They've tried to do it and they said, oh, it fell flat. Well, the reason is because you need somebody to drive it. Like the service manager's not getting on a phone call with 35 people to talk about the benefits of service at 7:00 at night. He's just not doing it. He's whooped, right? And you need someone who's unflappable. You need someone who's got some joie de vivre.
Oh,
you gotta keep it fun.
No, I like that. And so let's just talk about that though, because obviously, one option is give you guys a call, which I think you could do justice by a lot of our listeners for sure. Now, if a dealer were to say, hey, I want to do this myself. Now we've been through a couple things. We looked at the data. We set our goal. Okay. Now let's talk about execution. This is something that eludes us at our dealership, right? I would love if we had some sort of service BDC, right? We actually don't have any BDCs at our industry or organization here, right? Christine's doing the call me again. I love it. You're going to be the call me car lady. With that though, let's say a dealership actually has some sort of service BDC or has thought about doing some sort of service BDC. You mentioned a couple things. The person that needs to be in that position, needs to be unflappable, right? I mean, that's one of those things where they need to go after these customers. They need to say, hey, here's what you're missing on your vehicle, or here's the programs that, we have currently going on. This is what your vehicle might need in terms of up charges and up servicing. I mean, that's everything that essentially would be covered?
They need training, right? Like we always focus on sales BDC, right? How to get people on the phone, to get people to come in and buy cars. Right. But we need to talk about service BDC.
Sure.
So, but you can't put a woman or a man in that position unless they have some base knowledge, right? So we do that as well. We've done that for a lot of stores where they'll just call me and say, listen, Christine, I just started my own BDC. I've got a couple of people in there. Can you talk them through the regular maintenance? Can you give them some really good key language that will upsell them on a brake service or an alignment or a tire rotation or a brake, brake replacement if they're up for that, right? So can you give them some language? So I'm always happy to help with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, another little feather in your cap, which I love too. So training, right? So yes, you can host all the events. You can do the training for people should they just choose training. You obviously then have your purchasing service. One of the things too, and I love just keep going through the steps one more time. So, all right, guys, let's recap. We have data, we have setting our goals, but now the big thing here, if you are choosing to do it in-house, obviously you can end up calling Christine, or you just need to make sure that your individual, whoever you're going to put in charge of that, is educated and trained on the process. And I think that that's super, super important and key, because we see that even on the, more marketing related sides, if even the team, let's say salespeople at the dealership, aren't educated on the type of marketing you're doing or the different programs and tools that you currently have in place, they're not going to be able to use them to their fullest potential to ensure that you are actually getting the customer into the dealership, and then even bringing it over to the fixed ops side of things, service and parts. That's going to fail because there's just not the education there.
And take a look at since we love data, take a look at the percentage of women that are purchasing vehicles from you. Okay. Their name is on the ownership. They're purchasing their own vehicle. Wouldn't it be great to have an opportunity to speak to another woman I mean, the car lady's not the car lady by accident. The femaleness is what built me the business, right? I was sort of like a unicorn. There wasn't very many women technicians, right? Back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s.
2000s.
You know what I mean? So it's also another great way to look at your data and say, okay, we've sold this many car to women, and I see that we're not getting the retention back from those particular women, right? You can look at those numbers as well. How can we fix that? Could we set up an event with the car lady that can speak to women about their concerns and about what they want from service?
No, absolutely. I think it's key. You do see how there are different, buyers, and let's just say females, for example. We do know that there's definitely a problem or opportunity for improvement, I should say, within our industry here, where we do need to make all people feel welcome about purchasing a vehicle from our dealership. Whether that's they felt that they were being salespeople were being standoffish, or whatever it was, that they were demeaning or talking down to these individuals. All of that does absolutely need to be addressed, and it's an opportunity for improvement that everyone should be able to buy a car should they want to come buy a car from your dealership. So I love it. Christine, I know you've been doing it for a while now, and the success is great, but you're spearheading that. So I think that's another thing about maybe let's just, before we let you go, talk about kind of woman empowerment in the space. Yeah. So, listen, we have a lot of female listeners. We absolutely do. And it's great. And Matt and I absolutely love the conversations that we have back and forth with these individuals who we've been fortunate enough to meet since doing, the podcast and putting that out there. So for all the women out there and girl power and all of that, I mean, what I guess could you say to individuals at a dealership, right? Let's say management, dealer principals, whether, male or female. What just words of wisdom or advice in terms of focusing on that female empowerment can you bestow on the audience there?
Well, that's a popular question, Colin. People always want to know, how can we attract more women? How can we attract more women?
Yeah, attract women and customers or to work at the dealership? Yeah. Sure.
I mean, we're going to have women customers. That's a fact, but that's a popular question. And we speak to that all the time about how, Christine, I need more women to work here. How can I get more women to work here? Particularly in the service department. I usually recommend that they have some sort of an open house. I think pull the curtain back and show them what you're offering. Go to your local high school and your guidance counselor and say, hey, we'd like to have an open house for young women and the men in your classes to see what we have here. And I think, people have the misconception of being a technician in particular, which is what I can speak to, that it's a lot of heavy lifting. Right? Back in the day, of course, you were replacing transmissions and you did more exhaust work than you ever do now. But most of it today is all technology and diagnostics. So women make great technicians. They have great attention to detail. They have empathy. They finish tasks well. So I think pulling the curtain back and just letting other women know how many women work in your store, and not just on International Women's Day, but actually pull the curtain back and just say, this is, because again, like speaks to like. And experience is what it is. And
hey, listen. I mean, let me ask you about, so then from a marketing perspective, right? So something that we tried at our dealership, and, I think there was a pretty good reception. Whether or not I saw an influx of all female customers, I have not looked at, we'll be honest. But, we did videos with actually our female salespeople that we had at the time. And, we have some higher up executives who are also females in the organization. And we just did a video, hey, you can do business with us and feel empowered and confident in your decision to choose the Nielsen Automotive Group. I mean, is that something that you would recommend for dealers to do? Put that content out there, showing that almost the transparency and pulling back the curtain?
Absolutely. It's really important. And I see a lot of dealerships are also doing it for the different languages they speak.
Sure.
If you want to have inclusivity, then perhaps if you have people that are working at your dealership that perhaps speak different languages, it's always a great video to do that as well. There's the biggest Toyota dealership here in Canada is called Don Valley North Toyota. And I'm lucky to have them as one of my clients. And they did a whole video series about, we speak your language.
Cool. Very cool.
Right. So that they did like basic walkarounds, or they did features in the different languages, and then they posted them up. So
I think that's a really great idea. So for, once again, dealers out there listening, hey, you can take that essentially what sets you apart, what makes you unique, right?
Yeah.
And put it out there. You obviously want to disseminate that out to the masses. That's really, really awesome. So Matt, I'm going to have you in real time do this, but you need to put Christine's website up there, which is thecarlady.ca. Okay. Because like we said, she's our friend to the north up in Canada. But for everyone, Christine, thank you so very much for being on here. The famous car lady. Go to thecarlady.ca to learn more about Christine, what she does, and of course, what her team does. Christine, a phone number for people to reach you. I mean, we could also type this in here. You want to throw that up there for us real quick?
Yeah, you can call me on my cell at 519-375-4497.
All right.
You like that radio voice? You know, I'm on the hold for about 4 dealerships now. Thank you for calling Cambridge Toyota.
Oh, look at you.
Your business, because I got
it.
Radio.
I love it. I love it. I love
inside
it.
the cabin.
Exactly. Yeah. Please stand clear of the closing doors. So thank you very much, Christine. Everyone, once again, thecarlady.ca. Christine, keep up the great work, and we wish you so much more success. We love what you're doing with the Car Lady. And once again, guys, 519-375-4497. That's how you can reach Christine directly on her cell phone. Christine, thank you so very much, and thanks for sharing your knowledge. And hopefully after this, you got a lot of calls, and we got a lot of dealers making customers for life. Thank you, Christine.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Colin.
Hey, you got it. All right, Matt.
Hey,
I feel like, go ahead.
I was just going to say, did you know that that Canada is .ca? I didn't know that.
I think you can still be .com, but I think .ca is just fun because she's in Canada, but she wants to be everywhere. She wants to be Mrs. Worldwide.
We have a lot of listeners in Canada.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm sure you do too. But I was looking.
Maybe.
I got a lot of listeners. I got a lot of listeners in Canada, which I am happy about.
I have to check out where my listeners are.
Our partners to the north.
That's it. Our partners to the north there. So anyway, really, yes, it was. It was a really great episode. Thank you, as always, for being on. Very important for building customers for life. As always, if you guys liked what you heard today here on Experimarketing, please stay tuned for upcoming episodes. We always try to get the greatest talent in the automotive space, those thought-forward thinkers, thought leaders. Everyone, we want to talk to you. If you have any suggestions on who we should talk to next, both Matt and I, let us know. Find us on LinkedIn, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. And then that's that. Another episode. I'm going to go get some lunch. See you guys later.